Good morning, students. This is Mrs. P. I realized that I forgot to go back and read the other half of this book, Go for the Moon, A Rocket, a Boy, and the First Moon Landing. So I'm coming back to read the other half. And here's what we were talking about. The Apollo 2 astronauts have prepared carefully for their attempt to the first man to land on the moon. And the boy, who is actually the topic of the story, he's decided to kind of follow along in his own way. And so we are here, and he says, it's time to put on my spacesuit. And he's built, I think, a rocket in his backyard. So, the astronaut suits are like small spaceships. The moon has no air, so they have a special backpack that gives them oxygen to breathe and water for cooling. The suit is made of many layers. The first layer has hundreds of feet of tubing that carries water to cool the body. I bet you didn't know that. The next layer keeps the air inside, and the outer layer provides protection from the heat and cold. Also, the suits are easy to move in. So, that is his suit, and this is a little bit more actual, regular spacesuit. Okay, and that kind of shows you, like a cross-section of what's in there. So it says, after Columbia has orbited the moon several times, astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin say goodbye to Michael Collins. He'll stay behind in Columbia and wait for them to return. Neil and Buzz climb aboard Eagle, close the hatch, and unlock from Columbia. Landing on the moon isn't easy. The astronauts aim to land at a place called the Sea of Tranquility. It isn't a real sea because there is no water on the moon. To get there, they have to steer Eagle exactly with just the right amount of thrust to slow down Eagle so they don't crash. The astronauts fire their engines to slowly drop closer to the moon's surface. And so the boy says, I send my lunar module model down a piece of string. If the lunar module goes down too fast, it will crash. If it goes down too slow, it will run out of fuel and also crash. The string needs to be at just the right angle. So he's calculating all these things just as if he was one of the engineers that was designing the space shuttle. So let's look at all this, and then I'll read it. Okay. A small computer controls Eagle. When they get closer to the moon's surface, Neil guides the computer to a safe landing spot. Carefully, he inches toward the surface of the moon. He does not want to land in a crater. No, that wouldn't be good. And then, with a soft bump, the Eagle lands on the moon. And here's the boy watching TV, because this is what our TVs look like when they landed somebody on the moon. Black and white with rabbit ears. My whole family huddles around the TV. Everyone is so nervous that no one speaks. Finally, I see a shadow moving across the screen. On the TV, I hear, that's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind. Neil Armstrong is the first man to ever walk on the moon, and Buzz Aldrin climbs down the ladder next. I know for some of you this all seems very easy, but when I was a kid, this was a huge deal. Nobody had been able to get anything out of the Earth's atmosphere. I run around the house practicing my giant leaps. With the moon shining brightly overhead, I bound outside just like a real astronaut. The astronauts spend 2.5 hours on the surface of the moon. They collect rocks, take pictures, and set up experiments. The moon has much less gravity than Earth, so an astronaut needs less effort to hop around. They jump just like little kids. Who does not want to jump and fly? But soon it's time to go home. They leave their backpacks on the moon because they will not need them again, and they no longer need the landing section of the lunar module, so it is also left behind. Neil and Buzz ignite Eagle's engine and blast off the moon. Soon they carefully dock Eagle to Columbia. They bring some rocks and their pictures with them. So that's what it looks like when they're blasting off from the moon. Then they detach Eagle and aim for Earth the same way that they aimed for the moon. They use the thrust from the Columbia's main engine to push them out of orbit and away from the moon's gravity. Soon, the Earth's gravity will become stronger, and after 3 days, their journey will be almost over, and then they will be near home. The empty Eagle falls slowly back to the moon, where eventually it crashes and creates a crater. I want you to see all of this before I read it. When Columbia nears Earth, it is time to say goodbye to the service module. The two parts of the spacecraft separate with a bang. The astronauts use little rockets to turn Columbia around so its large, round heat shield is pointed towards the Earth. When an object passes through air at a high speed, the air is compressed in front of it and it gets very hot. When Columbia reaches the Earth's atmosphere, this shock wave will become almost as hot as the surface of the sun. The heat shield prevents it from burning up. The vehicle must enter the atmosphere at just the right angle or it will skip away into space. It's kind of scary for the guys on the spaceship, isn't it? When Columbia reaches 10,000 feet above the ocean, it has slowed enough and the main parachutes shoot out of its nose. Soon it lands safely in the sea with a terrific splash. Big balloons keep the Columbia upright. There's the big balloons. They've got a ship out there waiting too to help it. The astronauts are home safe. They have traveled 500,000 miles to do what no human has ever done before. Thousands of men and women on Earth helped them get to the moon. Soon there will be parades and hugs and tears of joy. See, he just got out of that little section. And he's still in the water. And there's President Kennedy. No, I don't know. And Lyndon Johnson. And look here's the boy. He's so excited. On this day, I have more thrust than I've ever had before, he says. And then all the people all over the place were so excited. It was a very, very interesting day. Back in Florida, at the Kennedy Space Center, a new rocket is being prepared and new astronauts are training. The next countdown starts. These guys are all on catwalks way above. And see, these are all the people that are inside working on the inside of a rocket. And so here is our boy making his own And it says, at home, the countdown has started too. The next journey has begun. Look at, I think the boy's got all of his friends. Oh, look, there's a Volkswagen. And they are out at the park, or maybe not the park, somewhere, and they're blowing off their own rockets. You never know. You might be somebody who's interested in space, and you might be the next person on another planet. And so I'm going to read just a little bit of this, the author's notes. On July 20th, 1969, at 9 in the evening, I sat transfixed in front of a snowy black and white television in a small farmhouse in rural Illinois. The dark shapes on the screen were hard to make out, and the wait had been long. Neil Armstrong was about to descend the ladder of the lunar module and set foot on the moon. In that moment, my life's path would forever be changed. I was 7 years old. And then he says, well, I was never able to actually propel myself into space. I was eventually able to find a way to get off the ground. I earned my pilot's license, and as soon as I had the money to do so, and I eventually embarked on the pursuit of the crowning achievement of any aspiring model maker. I built my own aircraft. Not a model, but a real plane that I could fly. I still have my rockets, though some are now old and fragile and will never fly again. Many flew to great heights. Some smashed to pieces when the parachutes failed, and a few left Earth with a shattering roar, soaring higher and higher until they were away out of sight, never to be seen again. I'd like to think that one of them made it to the moon. And so there's a lot of fun facts that I'm not going to go into because I really want you to check this book out and read the whole thing. There's a glossary that tells you what, all the different words mean in case you don't know. And so this, Go for the Moon, A Rocket, a Boy, and the First Moon Landing. Come check it out, by Chris Gall. And this is not fiction. This is a nonfiction book, which means it's true based on facts. Good to know, huh? Okay, talk to you later.